but I have to erase that in order for us to use this view today. So this view that we're looking at here of the wrist and hand, this is a posterior or dorsal view. Dorsal view, it's on the back side of your hand right here. And if we take in anatomical position, let's assume this hand is in anatomical position. We have lateral and medial, and then tips of the fingers are going to be distal and proximal. So a couple of structures that we can see off the bat right here. We're going to start with Tim. Tim, this highlighted yellow structure right there is going to be the what? Yep. Ulnar styloid process. And then we can also see right here, this is going to be the ulna, and this is going to be the radius. And what this leader is pointing to over here is going to be the radial styloid process. So then we have the ulnar head and the articular surface of the distal articular surface of the radius articulating with carpal bones. All of these bones that are in between these kind of long bones of the hand and the fingers or phalanges or metacarpals. And they have distinctive names, each of them. The first one that the first one and the one that is most frequently broken, you can palpate on yourself. So if you fully extend your hand, make a big hand, you can find two tendons on your thumb near your carpal bones. If you put your thumb right in between those tendons right there, you can feel your scaphoid. What those tendons make is called the anatomical snuff box, because back in the early 1900s, 1800s, that's where people used to snort cocaine out of. So this highlighted, blue highlighted bone right here. Each of these individual bones, yes. So this is the scaphoid. Oh, that's a little too thick. And then the next one, just medial to that, is going to be the lunate. Right here, lunate bone. And on this posterior view then, the next one is going to be the triquetrum. So this pink one right here, triquetrum, kind of triangular in shape. T-R-I-Q-U-E. T-R-U. triquetrum. And then the next one we can't see. Because it is a small bone on the palmar surface, is called the pisiform. So we will go over that on the next one. But what we can see on this top view is the hamate bone right here. And we can see, so we have two rows of carpal bones, a proximal and a distal row. The scaphoid, lunate, and triquetrum are all in that proximal row. And then the distal row is these next 4 bones that we're going over. So this is the hamate in red. The next one going over is the capitate, highlighted in orange here. We can see that one's articulating with the 3rd metacarpal bone, or a metacarpal bone just articulates with 1, whereas the hamate, we're articulating with 2 bones, 2 metacarpals. And then the next one over is the trapezoid. And the last one here, because anatomists really like us, is the trapezium. We have 3 T, oh, no. Those we'll do. Okay, I'll do another red because it's far enough away from the other ones. Trapezium. I-U-M, trapezium. So we have all of these carpal bones, and they're in a particular order. And because we can distinguish them, we have also, there's a helpful mnemonic that I have used to try and remember these proximally and distally. So starting proximally from the scaphoid, we do so, long, top part. Here comes the thumb. Scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, pisiform, hamate, capitate, trapezoid, trapezium. So long top part, here comes the thumb. I've found it helpful to use to try and help me distinguish. So this is the, on the, we can see it a little bit better on the palmar view, distinguish some of these, but we will get to those in a moment. So then as we move distally from the carpal bones, we have the metacarpal bones. Metacarpal bones are bones that are articulating with the carpals. They are the bones that are, well, I'll say, quote unquote, encapsulated in your hand, in your skin. These are the bones that are between kind of your knuckles and your wrist. And we label or we name these bones and we number them based upon their location and their number of, we've numbered the fingers to make it a little bit more distinguishable. So all of these are metacarpals. And we can see some of the carpal bones articulating with some but not all of the carpal bones. So the first metacarpal, 4 and 5. So we're label these lateral to medial from anatomical position. The first metacarpal is, we can see it's articulating just with that trapezium. The second metacarpal is articulating with the trapezium and trapezoid. Third is just articulating with the capitate. And then the fourth and the fifth metacarpals are articulating with the hamate. And then all those forces get kind of translated into the other carpal bones and up into the radius and ulna. And each of them have relatively different shapes. The trapezium is what we call a saddle joint. So you ever think of a saddle on a horse, not too dissimilar, where the metacarpal has kind of two ends that sit down onto the saddle portion of the trapezium. And so we're labeling these 1 through 5, and they're sitting on the carpal bones. And then we move into the phalanges. So we have proximal phalanges, intermediate phalanges, and distal phalanges. In fingers 2 through 5, we have all 3, but you can see in the first finger, we don't have an intermediate phalange, mainly because it's just not long enough. So we just have a proximal and a distal phalange. So these are going to be proximal. Proximal phalanx or phalange. Then we have our intermediate phalanges. Go light blue here. So these are your bones between your knuckle and how you have kind of your second knuckle right here, that bone in between the proximal and distal phalange. So these are intermediate. And then we have distal phalanges. So the most distal portion. Right here. Distal phalanges. Or the distal phalanx. And then we also, if as a kind of preview for our joints section, we also have joints in between them, right? So the joints between a metacarpal and a carpal bone is going to be carpal metacarpal joint, or CMC joint. This is between we also have metacarpal phalange joints, so MCP joint, and those joints are going to be right here. And we also distinguish those by their number as well. So MCP joint between metacarpal phalangeal joint. No. No, but is a preview for your final where we'll go over joints. So it may come in handy in the future. Between metacarpals and then we have interphalangeal joints. So we have proximal and distal interphalangeal joints. So IP joints. And those are between phalanx bones. And so I'll do those in a different color. I'll do them in red, that's fine. IP joints, maybe right here. And we distinguish these by proximal and distal. So the proximal ones are going to be between the proximal and intermediate phalanx, and the distal ones are going to be between the middle phalanx and the distal phalanx. So we have proximal and distal interphalangeal joints. And then I'll do a blue. Distal ones. All right. Any questions on wristband? Yes. So phalange is going to be the whole finger from the MCP joint up. So let's do this in black. So the phalanx is going to be from here to here on the finger. And then, so that's going to be a whole phalange. Phalanx bone is going to be the individual bones, proximal, intermediate, distal phalanx bone. So whole finger, they're used interchangeably. Phalange or phalanx? No. No. Generally, if, you can use context clues, right? So generally a whole finger is going to be a phalange, first phalange, second phalange, third phalange, fourth phalange. And then you can get into phalanx bone, you know, first phalanx, second phalanx, third phalanx. But you're probably, when you're describing it, you're also going to be describing proximal, intermediate, or distal, unless you have kind of, so let's say I have a patient who dislocates their finger. I'm just going to describe the dislocation based upon the joint that it's dislocated at. So, you know, I can say patient dislocated their second finger at the MCP joint. Yeah, so the first phalange is the whole thing from metacarpal. The number 1 is associated with finger all the way from metacarpal all the way to distal phalange or distal phalanx bone. The whole thing, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger. You can, when you start labeling the intermediate phalanx, you do start at 2 because, you do start at 2 because we just don't want to confuse first and second. We don't want to have a mismatch between the finger number and the bone number, essentially. Any other questions? Great. IP joints between phalanx bones. Right, so proximal interphalangeal joint is between the second proximal phalanx and the second intermediate phalanx. And so that's the, so circled in red right there, that's that proximal interphalangeal joint of the second finger. Any other questions? All right, moving from a dorsal view now into a palmar view. So this time I'm gonna focus on more of the carpal bones. So we have, let's label here, we have the, well, let's orient ourselves here first. So this is a palmar view. And this side is medial. This side is lateral. And we have proximal and distal. Okay. We have our radius and ulna right here. We have that radial styloid process right there. This is a palmar view. So anatomical position looking from your palm side. It was a dorsal view or posterior. Palmar is going to be anterior. And we'll put these here. dorsal slash posterior. Radial styloid process. And then we have the ulnar styloid process peeking out. And then as we look at the carpal bones here, we're going to zoom in a bit. We can see once again our friend, our friend scaphoid. And on this palmar view, we can also see, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Scaphoid. And then what bone is next, Parker? Next to the scaphoid? In our mnemonic, what is the next bone that I'm highlighting right here? L. Lunate, thank you. Lunate bone. And then Grant, the bone that I'm highlighting in yellow right here is what? Triquetrum. It's hard to say. And Andrew, the one that we couldn't see on the posterior view, this bone right here, highlighting in orange. Yep, pisiform. Pisiform, so it's a small, kind of almost pea-shaped like bone. If you get hands on one of these wrist models, you can feel that this bone kind of floats in there, but it does articulate with the triquetrum. Oh, this scaphoid is backwards. Oh, come on. Come on. Somewhat dislocated this. There we go. That's better-ish. This model is very pathologic. There we go. Scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, and then pisiform right here. And then on the hamate bone, there's a feature that see quite distinct to the hamate is the hook of the hamate, where we have both muscles attach and kind of help to form the carpal tunnel. So I will circle right here. So this blue structure right there is going to be the hook of the hamate. Hook of the hamate. And then we have hamate bone. And then we have our next one in line. Teo. This bone that I'm highlighting in pink is going to be the what? Capitate. And Brie. This bone just right next to the capitate is the what? trapezoid. We can see that it looks a little bit more trapezoidal. And then this bone here is the trapezium, and we can also see on bony models. So trapezium, we can also see on bony models the tubercle, the trapezium. Tubercle, trapezium, helping form kind of a bony arch on the lateral side of the carpal tunnel. And then let's see. Bree, starting on the left side, which bone, which number are we looking at on the left side? 5. Good. So that means 4, 3, 2, and 1. And Mia, this first row of bones right here that I'm circling in red are the what bones? Metacarpals. Roz, this second row right here that I'm circling in blue is what? Proximal phalanges, proximal phalanx. Good. And in dark blue, or is that purple? Kayla, what bones are those? Yep. Distal and Chloe. That leaves this row right here that I'm circling in gray being the what? What's the other word that we're using instead of middle? Middle or intermediate? Yep. All right. So we have a palmar view, a dorsal view, or posterior view of the wrists and their bones. And so we can also see on X-ray. So as I mentioned previously, the scaphoid, depending on which anatomist you talk to, is the most frequent fractured wrist bone. And we can see on radiographs the distinct characteristics of the bones and joints, and we can see if there is a fracture in there over the sounds of our morning saw as they emerge from their burrow. And so probably you all have heard about the carpal tunnel, particularly in older persons. The carpal tunnel is formed by the carpal bones, and then we have tendons that control all your fine finger and wrist movements that go through the carpal tunnel. And the roof of the tunnel is made up of this flexor retinaculum. So there's a tendon or ligament retinaculum right there that forms the top of the tunnel to contain all of the flexor tendons. And it keeps them in there and secure. And so when you have people who chronically flex their wrists, you can have agitation in there. You can cause pain. It can even cause bone growth in that region. And so one of the surgical operation that they'll typically do is they'll just go in and they will just cut this retinaculum to allow for more space. And so there's not necessarily, another fix that there is. We just go in and make more space by cutting that retinaculum open. And so it can be quite, even though the surgery will improve pain, it can be quite debilitating. Tim. Wonderful. Carpal tunnel. Is this a good volume now, Tim? The carpal tunnel formed by bones, and there's a layer of retinaculum or tendon or ligament. That's the roof of the tunnel. If you're in a chronically flexed position, the chronically flexed position, doing a lot of stuff, you can agitate the tendons in that tunnel. You can even have some bone growth if it gets really bad. And the surgical procedure to alleviate pain is to just cut that retinaculum. And so you'll just cut it open to allow for more space. Any other questions? All right, that's going to be the end of today's lecture. Get hands-on with models. Next class, we will do a Kahoot on the bones of the wrist and hand. And then, what is it? Not next week, but the week after. So you'll have all next week. You have 3 class periods to review, and then we will have our exam for the upper extremity on the 8th of November. That's a Tuesday. All right, so get hands-on with some models.